All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our UFC Salt Lake City, Utah. Yes, we're talking Utah. UFC made it to Utah finally. Weirdly enough, it's a weird state to have a cage fight in, but you know, no fucks are given here. So anyway, this is our pre-fight show, of course, for this weekend's card, headlined by Yair Rodriguez against Alex Caceres, better known as Bruce Leroy. Baller main event. Myself, Eddie Law, and of course with me from ESPN Radio, Dave Rodriguez. Hopefully being joined by Jesse Ruvalcaba later on, hopefully soon. So. Real quick, Dave, this is one of your boys in the main event. Before we get started in the Fight Pass prelims, have you seen him in the gym? What's he look like?
Yeah, I haven't seen Yair in the gym lately. I know he's kind of in and out, and he works a lot with Mike Valle backing up in Illinois and training a lot with Izzy. Izzy's kind of doing the same thing. He's back and forth. So I just know that Yair made his way up to Salt Lake City. I think he's been there for a couple weeks. He's already been working with his normal training camp. And I think Coach Greg Jackson will join him here. I think today he'll be making his way up there. So yeah, I'm very excited to see Yair on that big stage. I mean, he's really a superstar with the moment where he's got to take care of business, in which tough Alex Caceres I expect to show up for this 5-round main event, and in which it's a first 5-round fight for both guys. Definitely.
All right, let's get right into the Fight Pass prelims. We get kicked off with the heavyweights. It doesn't happen very often, but it seems like they put to me it looks like a pretty perfect matchup. You got undefeated Justin Ledet, 6-0. He has ground game. Look, I'm a fan of heavyweights with a ground game. If they actually use it, first of all, and second of all, if it's actually effective, it's something that we definitely like to see from our heavyweights, right? Frank Mir, Big Nog, all those guys. Roy Nelson, we don't see it very much from, but still. Meanwhile, the other guy, Chase Sherman, 9-1. He's a heavy hitter. He's a big boy. These two guys are big dudes. I mean, and we always look at heavyweight fights, man, and it's almost always like whoever gets hit in the chin first drops. Basically whoever lands first wins. This could be a little different. We got a striker versus grappler fight, so it's kind of a tough pick, man. But who are you taking in it?
Yeah, like I was saying when we're prepping for the show, I think both these guys are pretty much, they really wouldn't hurt for them to lose this fight here. It's really a great, two heavyweight guys, #1 in Texas against the #1 guy, Chase Sherman out of Mississippi in the regionals. They're close in age. I think Justin Ledet has competed once since 5-13-16 is his last fight. The other guy, Sherman, I think he's lost once by KO. But both of these guys are, capable of finishing each other. But then again, their record shows for that they have a lot of finishes on their record. So expect to finish in this one. I'm leaning towards Chase Sherman in this one. I think he's the underdog in this fight, if I'm not right.
Yeah, and you know what? Because I was talking to you, of course, that I like heavyweights with ground games. I think when it goes to the ground, Ledet should be able to. That's what I'm picking Ledet, but. I think he should be able. Look, I like the demeanor of ground guys, because when you are rolling on jiu-jitsu, you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're doing wrestling, you can be put in a bad spot, and if you panic, you will lose, right? If you get to this professional MMA level, right, it's because you don't panic when you're in bad spots. So I'm thinking, he's be able to. But look, they're both going to come in with jitters. I think they're both debuting, right?
Yeah, both debut guys. They got Justin Ledet as the favorite, -150. Like I said, I think Chase Sherman has competed, I think, twice since in 2016. So this will be his third fight this year. And I think both these guys are looking to, make a statement right off the bat. And this fight has got all the makings for definitely a finish, in my opinion.
I'm hoping, man. Look, we always want to, and me and Jesse will talk about it. Of course, you always point it out too. The first fight of the night is how the UFC likes to, set a pace, set a tone for the rest of the night, and they just hope that it sticks. So you're taking Sherman, I'm taking Ledet in this one. Just got a message from Jesse. He says he'll be on as soon as possible. So expect video from the Pokemon Go van. All right. Moving on to the next fight, a fight that no one expected to be in the Fight Pass prelims, because we get two straight vets, killers, fun guys to watch. Number 5 ranked featherweight Cub Swanson against number 14 ranked Tatsuya Kawajiri, the Crusher. So we got Japan versus USA in this one. We both know, we know both guys. We know that they both bring. Kawajiri, the Crusher, he's very well-rounded. He's coming off a loss to Deus Bermudez by decision. Before that, he had 2 fights in a row, or 2 wins in a row. Before that, he lost to Clay Guida, and then he had gone on a tear, which included bouts in the UFC, Dream, ONE FC, so on and so forth. So Kawajiri is very well-rounded. Cub Swanson, look, we know what Cub Swanson does. The guy he goes out for finish. I mean, look, sure, his last fight against Tucker and Diaz, he won by decision back in April, but you know, he tries to finish fights, right? And he's one of those guys that's like kill or be killed almost, right? Like he's like, look, I'm gonna knock you out, you're gonna knock me out, but this fight's got to end. And if you can take Cub Swanson to decision, you know, that says a lot about you. I think that says a lot about your endurance and your ability to take shots and to survive against a killer like Cub Swanson. Now he's now, I'm not gonna say he's fallen off, but he's definitely not the Swanson that we're used to from back in the day when he was like a couple years younger. So it's a tough pick here. I'm taking Swanson though. I'm a sucker for guys that like to finish fights and everything. And Kawajiri, you know, he's a tough guy, but I'm thinking that we get Mr. Cub Swanson back on a roll of some sort, get himself a couple big fights before he has to hang it up. Who are you picking in this one?
Yeah, we get a treat here in this fight, Eddie. We got, you know, the number 6 in Cub Swanson. I think Kawajiri competed in deep. He had a draw, oddly, and then he's back to the UFC. So, but he's number 18 ranked currently world. You know, I like to throw those numbers out there. So Cub Swanson, 32 years old, 27-7. I think he's 3-2 in his last 5. I think, Cubs fought the names, man. I mean, and you name them, Cubs fought them. You know, the Poiriers, the Holloways, you name it.
Crazy.
Yeah, he fought the who's who, and like you said, he has that fan-friendly style, that exciting style, which he's looking to finish a fight. I know he's been really sharpening his game up lately. He's more smart. He's a smarter fighter, I think. He's more calculated, but then again, he's got the killer mentality where, you know, he just likes to display his high-level skills, which it's on the feet. He's got a, you know, great ground attack. His jiu-jitsu is no joke. So Kawajiri, the veteran guy, 38 years old. I mean, that guy's fought, you know, years ago, he's fought Eddie Alvarez. He's fought Gil Melendez. He's fought Josh Thompson. So he's fought pretty much, you know, some high-level talent in the process too. So very exciting bout to kick it off. You know, second bout, we get a treat here. Leaning Cub Swanson. I think he's a heavy favorite in this one. I seen Cub walking around the gym the other day at Jackson's, and he has that killer Cub look in his eye, and he looks like he's ready to go. So I think I got Cub Swanson in this one. Possibly a decision. I think Kawajiri is the guy that could take Cub to a decision, but I think if that's the way it goes, Cub will punish him. I'm looking for a decision, Cub Swanson. Otherwise, he could just put him out with an exciting, dramatic fashion, of course, too.
Definitely, that's what you look for from a guy like Swanson. Killer Cub, man. You got to try and get it. By the way, he used to have a sick ass shirt where it was like a cub, like a bear, right? Like a little cub bear.
Oh,
and it would look sick as fuck. I want that shirt so bad. You know, I think me and you were talking about like rare T-shirts, and like for me, that's on that list. That one. And not the Anaconda. Who is it? We were both talking about this shirt.
The Constrictor shirt.
Constrictor. Team Constrictor. I want that shirt so badly, dude. It's so sick. I'm gonna find one day. Fucking.
There's a couple of them out there. That's why I know at the Jackson's gym, on one of the main pillars, just on the mats there just it's like hidden in plain sight, and it's just one of the little Cub Swanson bears right there, and it's kind of just like, hey, that's where it's at, and that's where it's gonna stay.
Yeah, no, dude. Those are 2 shirts that I have to get. Like whenever I get a chance, I gotta get those shirts anyway. All right, so those 2 bouts: Sherman versus Ledet and Swanson versus Kawajiri on the UFC Fight Pass prelims, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time, of course, on Fight Pass, which means you can watch it on your phone if you want to, or anything else. So those are 2 actually pretty good bouts to kick off the entire card. Moving on to the FS1 prelims. Last week we had FS2 for some whack ass reason. This week we're back to FS1. I don't know if it was last week. It might have been the week before, but regardless. On FS1 prelims, start off at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. First fight of the night, Teruto Ishihara, whatever Yashabo means, is his nickname. So I'll look that up sometime soon. Versus one of the guys from my hometown, from Guadalajara, my hometown boy, Horacio Gutierrez, the Punisher. I'm not gonna make any buts about it. I'm a homer. All right, I'm picking Gutierrez because he's from my town. You know, that's literally the only reason I have. The one thing I don't like about him, he's 2-2, or he might be 2. Yeah, he's like 3-2 in his professional career. Did not have, in my opinion, a good fight. I mean, he had like flashes of I guess brilliance, you could say, in that fight against Enrique Barzola in that fight night back in November last year, I think. But he has some holes in his game that I'm hoping he's worked on, because Ishihara will expose any holes. This kid can hit. Last fight he had, second round knockout of Julian Erosa, which I didn't see coming at all. This kid has hands, has blocks on his hands, but I'm gonna stick with my people. I'm taking Gutierrez. Who are you picking?
And to add to the rare shirt thing that we're talking about earlier, I mean, this Teruto Ishihara's got a pretty rare shirt. I think I sent a tweet out earlier today. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah. It's one of the best shirts out in MMA. I'm gonna get me one of those pretty soon here.
I'm about to look that up.
With that said, he's a team alpha male guy. He's pretty much, pretty growing a lot of their game out there, been helping them out. And I think he made a trip with Cub Swanson. They showed it on the UFC. They did a little Harley Davidson deal over for in Japan, I guess, or China, was it? Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, it was Ishihara. I think that's where he's a known guy over there. So it was pretty cool that they put that all together, added Cub in the mix. So this fight here, I think Ishihara last competed on the Conor card, right? UFC 196.
Yeah, 196 Conor Diaz.
Okay, and I remember the Horacio Gutierrez. I remember him beat Polo Reyes, the tough finale. So I'm somewhat familiar with him. I think both these guys are pretty even matched here. I think Horacio Gutierrez, I'm not certain, but I think he does work with Yair Rodriguez and Mike Valle, Izzy Martinez, I believe, as well. So that, I mean, in that aspect, I'd like to favor him in this bout by a little bit. But this Ishihara guy is somewhat on the rise. He's ranked number 75 currently, and they got a Horacio Gutierrez number 226. Very deep out there. So I think, even skills on the ground, on the feet. I think this will be an exciting fight. I think I'll go with Ishihara by a decision. I think Gutierrez will fight him tough, and I think it'll go. They have him as a moderate favorite. I think plus 225 is what they have Ishihara as a favorite right now.
Like with hands like that, I don't doubt it. Jody watching on YouTube. Shout out to Jody. How you doing? She says, "I love my bitches. I want one. If that's the shirt, I'm getting one, guaranteed. For sure, getting one."
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, you got to see it. It's just, I just seen it appear, and I actually did see it on that UFC, the embedded or the Japanese thing. I think that's where the first time I seen it. So if it's available and it's out there, yeah, I'll be getting that shirt definitely.
Oh, I'm getting that shit for sure. Now I remember, and it was in the post-fight interview. He just yelled out in English, "I love my bitches," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, I think he became like one of my favorite post-fight interviews ever, just off of that. That reminds me. Oh, now I remember everything of that guy. That's just funny as hell.
A lot of people are high on the guy. He works with Cody Garbrandt. He works with Uriah. I know a lot of people who are speaking, highly of the guy. So I'm anxious to see what he's got. This is a fight that pretty much, a number 226 ranked guy. It's pretty much a fight for him to win. But I think Gutierrez makes it a tough bout.
Definitely. All right, next fight up on episode 1 prelims. We got Sweden against USA. David Timur. Timur. I don't know how to say his last name, but he's actually one of those guys that kind of he looks promising, and you want him to be good and to win, but something about him to me is a little off. But he's got hands, man. He likes to knock dudes out. Taking on Jason Novelli, whose nickname is Pepsi. He's 11-1. Mostly a ground guy. At least most of his wins are by submission. He's got 6 submissions on his record, 3 knockouts. Has not fought in the UFC yet. This is his debut, but his last fight was in Titan FC in April against somebody we know, just Denis Sedena, who I believe used to fight in the UFC. So he's not gonna be new to UFC competition, but he will be new to the environment. Meanwhile, Timur's coming off a TKO win, second round of Martin Svensson, which to me isn't super impressive, but it's a win, and it's a TKO. It's a finish. More importantly, in your debut in the UFC, I like to lean towards experience, especially when it comes to the jitters and all that stuff. I like Timur in this fight. Who are you taking?
Yeah, David Timur. I remember him from the Fighter House, hanging right there in the scuffles with Conor McGregor and Uriah and Garbrandt and all that stuff. He's kind of pretty much involved in everything that happened with that. I know he trains at the All Stars Training Center with Alex Gustafsson. So yeah, he is. I think he's never been finished. He's got, I don't know how many total fights he has, but he's never been finished. Novelli's got the ground attack. I think if he's going to win the fight, yeah, he's going to be a threat on the ground to finish Timur. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Novelli, he's a 36-year-old guy. He's the older guy here. Timur a lot younger. Timur, like you mentioned, the win that he's coming off of, I think he fought on the Bisping and Silva card in England. So be back home here fighting plenty of subs and KOs on the side of Jason Novelli. So I think this fight, I'm leaning towards him, even though it is a debut bout. He's an older guy, but the 155 division is pretty deep right now. They got Timur as a minus 140 favorite. I'm going Novelli in this fight, Eddie.
All right. Now we're going back to the heavyweights once again. We were talking about this boy a little bit ago. Excuse me. We got Victor Pesta against Marcin I guess Marcin Tybura. Pesta he's pretty well rounded, but he's 1-2 record in UFC. Losses to Derek Lewis, which you can kind of expect that at that point, and the loss to Ruslan Magomedov. Excuse me. Oh shit! I need more water. Anyway, and he's got that win over Konstantin Rokin. What the fuck was the names? By decision at Rumble versus Gus back in January of last year. Actually, this guy hasn't fought since October, so he's been off for a minute. Marcin Tybura, meanwhile, coming off that decision, lost in April to Timothy Johnson, which honestly I picked Tybura on that fight because this kid was coming in with actually quite a bit of hype. Dude's got he's got hands and he's got a ground game. He's pretty well rounded, and he's not like he was fighting in some crappy no-name organization. He's from M1 Global. You know what I mean? You get some you get some good talent over there. I mean, M1 Global is pretty damn underrated. No one really talks about them very much. M1 I'm sorry, Challenge and then Global. There's like fucking 5 different M1s, but it's a tough pick for me here. But I do like Pesta in this one because he's got the experience, the UFC experience more importantly, and a win in the UFC. Who are you picking?
Yeah, these guys are both 2 losses on the record. Victor Pesta 10-2, Tybura 13-2, so they haven't lost many fights. Victor Pesta, like you said, the layoff from last October, possibly from just that brutal Derek Lewis KO. So I'm glad that he took some time off. So he's a guy that'll really, like we mentioned, prepping for the show. Pesta's a guy that could pretty much, he's a heavyweight that'll go to the ground and possibly sub you. This fight here, Tybura, the Timothy Johnson decision, I think that was not that long ago, his last fight. I think Tim Johnson's ranked around the top 20 or so in the heavyweights. They got Marcin Tybura 34, Victor Pesta 38. So these guys are just kind of, they're going to swap places basically, and ranking wise, 38-34, win or lose. They do have Victor Pesta as the underdog, plus 135. Tybura is the favorite, slight favorite, minus 155. 30-year-old Tybura, 26-year-old Pesta. It's going to be his first U.S. fight for Marcin Tybura. So yeah, I think it's a tough fight to pick. I'm pretty much leaning towards Pesta in this bout. I'm taking Pesta.
Yeah, and you do know USADA's pretty undefeated in the States. So whenever we hear about cards being overseas, you get a little iffy, and then when they come over here, it seems like something falls off a little bit, right? So. I mean, who knows? I mean, and look, it's not like I'm making assumptions that nobody else thinks about. Everyone thinks about that. Whenever we hear, for example, Eric Silva's fighting in Brazil, and it's been in his next fight, he's in Brazil. If he comes out cut and lean and looking like a monster like he used to, who's not going to say he's on PEDs? You know what I'm saying? So it's always something to think about.
Yeah, you totally, you could tell the difference in him. He's one of those guys where there's a handful of them, and you could just tell by the physique. And yeah, shit, Eric Silva looked like shit the last time I seen him out on that scale.
Oh fuck yeah, he did. I mean, and now you got the early weigh-ins and all that. I wonder how he's gonna handle that shit. But we'll see what happens with him. All right, now the main or featured prelim, FS1 prelim. We got 2 guys that I kind of make fun of a lot, to be honest with you. Court McGee and nonstop action-packed Dom T, Dominic Steele, who's the longest nickname in the history of any combat sport ever. Now Dominic Steele will surprise the fuck out of you. I mean, when he knocked out, I think he knocked out Dam Hyun Kim by slam. That was some crazy shit, right? Like no one expected that to happen. Slammed him down, knockout. Woo, it's some crazy shit. So regardless, he is still 1-2 in the UFC. Losses to Danny Roberts and Zach Cummings, and he's got that one win against Kim. As spectacular as that was, it's just one win. You need, in the UFC to stay for a while, you got to put together at least a couple streaks, right? We've seen guys that put 2-3 fights in a row, they lose 1 or 2. 2-3 fights in a row, wins in a row, 2 in the last, they lose 1 or 2. So Dominic still's got some work to do. I guess lucky for him, he's still early on in his UFC career. He's 28, I think. Court McGee doesn't have that luxury too much. Why? He's 31 years old. He has fought in the UFC for a while. Thing is this: he was like semi-retired not too long ago. He was doing other shit, right? And then I decided that he felt the itch. He wanted to come back and fight. Decidedly, he's a ground guy. 7 submissions on his record, I believe. But he will get into scraps and survive. Is his best that I can. Honestly, that to me, the reason this is one of the things I make fun of Court McGee for. Everyone's like, oh, so and so's a wrestler and so's a striker. This guy's a survivor. Court McGee will survive fights and either get lucky and get a decision win or lose by decision. I mean, last fight he had was actually his first finish, or the first finish in a long time, and he lost. He got finished by Santiago Ponzinibbio. in April. So it was a TKO in the first round. So Corey McGee's not, he's skilled, but he's also part, in my opinion, part of that area of fighters who aren't as they're not multi-skilled. He's like good in a few areas, right? To where the new fighters now are really good in a few areas. Not just good, they're really good. But in this fight against Dominic Steele, he's got a pretty good chance. But I'm taking Steele, hoping that he pulls out another slam because I want to see some crazy shit happen. So I'm taking Dominic Steele with a funny nickname. Who you got?
Yeah, as much as I've looked into the numbers and just looked at, previous bouts and, stuff that these guys have in common, I mean, I almost want to pick Dominic Steele in this fight just because Corey McGee is the big favorite here. He's coming off the first time he's ever been KO'd and finished in a UFC. We all know Dominic Steele. I think he was KO'd by Zach Cummings, who also fighting on the same card in like the first round. And I guess we don't have Fred here to root for his Ohio guy here, Dominic Steele. I mean, I'm sure Fred will be going for him. So I'd like to go for him. But hey, Corey McGee, 11th UFC bout. He's a durable journeyman. Like you said, he's just the guy where he's not, the most athletic guy. He's one of those grinders. He'll grind you out and he'll fight a bloodbath bout or just a boring 3-round, just like a tactical battle somewhat. I guess he'll pick his spots, but he's won, lost. I think is one of his biggest wins is like against Robert Whitaker. He lost to Ryan LaFleur. He's just on and off. I mean, I think he's a Utah native, so I think he's going to have plenty of support in this card. But he's coming off fresh off that KO, first time he's ever been finished, in which he was known to be a very super durable guy and a tough guy to finish. So I see this as possibly just a decision win for Corey McGee. I mean, I know he's known for just so many of those, win or lose, but I think Corey McGee pretty much puts it on Dominic Steele here. You mentioned the age difference. I guess, the age is a little bit more on the side of Steele. But I'd like to see Corey McGee put it all together and he'll get a win in his home state. And I think he'll get that done. They have him as the minus 205 favorite, plus 175 underdog for Dominic Steele. So as much as they're favoring McGee, I almost want to pick Steele for that very reason. And most of the time when I pick against Steele, he ends up KOing or knocking the shit out of whoever he's fighting. So, but I see Corey McGee getting the job done on this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I just hope Dominic Steele just throws all fucks out the window and goes, I'm gonna slam this asshole too. Boom. But it should look. It'll be either a super boring fight or like a regular fight with an exciting ass finish. It's one of those. I don't think it's gonna be anything to where we're gonna be like, oh shit, Melendez Sanchez again.
But the rate that we're going, we could just see a Court McGee flash knockout in like the opening minute too. I guess
that'd be insane.
Let's throw that out there because if it does happen, there's your soundbite right there. So
that's the thing about MMA. That's why you love the sport, right? Because fucking anything could happen. Like we could be completely wrong about everything we're saying, and someone just pulls some crazy shit out of their ass and just gets a spectacular finish and gets himself some bonus money hopefully out of that one. Either performance of the night, fight of the night, or one of those backdoor bonuses that Dana gives you when you get him some more viewers, right? Anyway, moving on. What's up? Were you gonna say something?
Oh no, I'll go ahead.
Okay. Cool. All right. On to the main card. Now, again, FS1 prelims are 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time on FS1. And then stay on there for the main card. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Kick it off by the and I can't remember the name, not featherweight. It's the 115 strawweights. Sorry, strawweight women. We got the female strawweights, number 9 ranked Marina Moroz, the Iron Lady, taking on Dynamite Danielle Taylor, newcomer to the UFC, coming out of King of the Cage. Now, the reason they signed her is for 2 reasons. One, they need more girls in that division, no question about it. You need more girls, and this girl can finish people. Her last 2 fights were wins by knockout or TKO. She got TKO the fight I think before she went on that streak, and then she had a lot of wins before that. So she's not unproven. She does have some experience, but it's not in the UFC cage. But here's the thing about that: I find that the women don't get rattled as much as the guys do in the UFC cage. So it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. Marina Moroz, meanwhile, the Ukrainian fighter, 7-1, I believe, in her MMA career, is 2-1 in the UFC. Wins over Joanne Calderwood, JoJo, and Christina Stanclu. Lost to Valerie Letourneau in a pretty solid fight that they had in August at Holloway versus Oliveira. I think last year, I want to say. Look, a ground girl for the most part. Marina, honestly, she had Valerie Letourneau in some trouble with submissions, if I remember correctly. So She's gonna have the advantage just for the fact that she's been in there with the UFC talent. And honestly, I'm picking her because she should win that fight just off the fact that she's been in there. But this Danielle Taylor girl, just off her record and a couple things I've seen on YouTube, she's not afraid to take chances in order to get some wins. So she's not afraid to put herself in trouble in order to get an opening to finish a fight by knockout, by TKO. She's got heavy hands for a 115 girl, and I think she should make for a pretty exciting addition to the strawweight, to female strawweight. So I'm picking Morose though. Just too much experience, and I love girls with ground game. I really do. So who are you picking?
Yeah, this is like, you made a pretty good point, man. I mean, it's really interesting when you look at it that way, about the ladies making their debut, and guys, especially if they had the previous experience in what fight organization they were champions, or if they fought pretty tough competition where they were. I think Danielle Taylor's shown that she's pretty much a finisher. She's got a lot of experience in the King of the Cage. She was champion there. I think you referenced her only loss via KO, and I think it was kind of deep in the fight. It was sort of like towards the end of the bout there. She's a shorter gal. She's real tiny. She's like 5 feet even, 5 feet tall. So she's gonna have to get in there and throw some bombs. I think I'm going Danielle Taylor in this fight, Eddie. Marina Morose, I think the Stancia win didn't really do too much for me. I mean, Stancia win there recently and just got blown the doors off by can't remember who their opponent was. It was not that long ago. So I don't think that win wasn't too impressive. I mean, she took Letourneau pretty deep, went to a decision with her. Letourneau's pretty much top talent. She's number 9 ranked right now, Morose, in the world. So they're pretty much favoring her. It's like an 88-12 fight where it's favored towards Morose. So I am going to go with Danielle Taylor, the underdog, making her debut. Definitely upset here. And I think Danielle Taylor's she's gonna bring it, and we're gonna see some exciting. I got Danielle Taylor by knockout in this fight, Eddie.
Look, I wouldn't mind seeing that, and it would suck because Marina Morose is she's just a cutie. She's a cutie. I don't want to see her get hurt. Can you just be nice with the little hammer fists, and once you hurt her to the body, and then just little hammer fists till the ref stops it. Please don't hurt Marina. She's cute. Don't do that shit. Anyway,
Hey, and our man, our buddy Brandon Kay, he's pretty high on Danielle Taylor, I think, because out there in the Cali scene, I think he's he's high on her. And 4-1. I mean, but yeah, she's pretty much going to go in there and look for the finish. So that's why I'm projecting that KO win. And I think Marina Morose is not going to know what to expect when Danielle Taylor gets in there. I think she's going to really hold her on the feet in her UFC debut.
Yeah, definitely. And if Marina's not ready to throw hands right back at her, she can get over one pretty quick. So, it'll definitely a fight to watch, and it's not a bad one to start off a main card. All right, next fight up, we get Trevor Hot Sauce Smith against Joe Capogliotti. Trevor Smith, we've seen before. I think he's fought I want to say 3 or 4 times in the UFC. His record, I don't think, is very impressive in the UFC. I think he's 3-3. So yeah, it's kind of whatever. Lost to Ed Herman, Talos Latis, and Kyle Magalhaes, and wins over Dan Miller, Tor Troing, and Brian Houston. Meanwhile, Joseph Gigliotti is a guy that I've seen fight in person. He fought at World Series of Fighting, Gaethje versus Palomino, the first fight, which, of course, if you guys know anything about World Series of Fighting and that Palomino-Gaethje, the 2 fights that they had, fire. But that first one, insanity. And I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but Gaethje Palomino, the one, was insane. Like I was in media row, basically, kind of like media. It's almost like media stable, kind of, but it was like on stage. So we had a higher up seat, right? And you could see, it was the perfect spot to watch a fight. And the fight got so crazy, everyone in media had to stand up and go and move to the front of the stage because it was so insane. No one could believe what kind of shit was going on. But Gigliotti was on that card. He's a power MMA guy, an Arizona guy. Last fight he had, actually, he's undefeated, 7-0. So 2 submissions, 3. Wow, he's got 4 submissions, 3 knockouts, pretty well rounded. He's a big guy. He's a pretty thick guy. And to be fighting, I don't know if he's fighting at 170, I think, in this fight, maybe 185. He's 185, so it's
185.
Yeah, so that weight cut shouldn't be too bad for him now that I think about it. But from what I remember seeing, boy's got hands. He's got hands, but he uses those hands to drop you, get on top of you, and get a submission or try to ground you out. Trevor Smith is he's taking some punishment, but he likes jiu-jitsu. He loves jiu-jitsu, and I think he's got some wrestling in his background too. He will try to get that fight to the ground. He will try to take your arm, take one of your limbs, take your neck if you can. But I think Gigliotti is going to be a little too much power for him and finish him off. Mind you, UFC jitters and all that, but keep in mind who's at Power MMA. Ryan Bader's at Power MMA. CB Dollar is a Power MMA. Aaron Simpson, the Power MMA. Who they have a bunch of UFC guys that are guys that UFC top caliber guys and UFC talent that trains over there. So, that is going to be, I think, the edge that he gets in order to get in here and finish this fight. And I think, you know what? I think Gigliotti could be an exciting addition to 185, man. He's not old. He's like 22 years old. He's pretty damn young. I don't know much of his background as far as college goes or anything. Damn, that was loud. Was that thunder?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, hey man, ABQ flooding, ladies and gentlemen. Pray for your boy. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so Gigliotti's out there heavy-handed. I'm gonna take him by knockout first round. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, this Trevor Smith, he's coming off a win. I think he beat Dan Miller as his last fight. I think he fought not that long ago, or somewhat, a little ways back. But he's a veteran grinder. He's just an inconsistent guy. Unfortunately, he's going to be matched up with Joseph Gigliotti, which this guy he's a finisher. He's going in there to finish the fight. He's going to go in there and take the fight via knockout, or he's going to choke you out. All finishes on his record. 22-year-old guy. Rising prospect. I think this guy could really showcase what he's all about. Trevor Smith's a big guy at 185. So the fights that I've seen of Joseph Gigliotti, there's guys where I've heard nobody really wanted to fight this guy. There's so many guys ducking him. He took fights on short notice just to get in there and get some wins. So I think he's going to rise up on the UFC stage. I don't think the UFC jitters affects him here. I think Trevor Smith's the opponent to lose to Joseph Gigliotti in his debut by a vicious knockout. Predicting Gigliotti by a violent knockout in this one.
Okay, well, hey, there you go. Here's the funny thing. Jody just sent me the link over to get Ishihara's "I Love My Bitches" shirt. Thank you, Jody. That's the shit. I'm gonna order one ASAP. It's flat. And joining us now, out of Cali. What up, Jesse?
What's up, guys?
Have you seen this "I Love My Bitches" shirt?
I have.
It's fucking awesome. Order one. I'm ordering one today.
I can't. I'm married, remember? That'll get me in a lot TKO.
Don't wear it on you. Oh, wait, you're always... Okay, yeah, never mind. Don't get one.
Yeah, Gigliotti, going back on that one, Gigliotti by a violent TKO KO or just a submission in the first round. That's what I'm predicting.
All right, sounds good, man. Any fight you want to go over, Jesse? Because we're in the two fights in the main card. Anything you want to cover?
Nah, man, I'm good. I basically know pretty much from where you guys are at up, so right, cool. I think I'm fitting right in at the moment, hopefully.
Sounds good. Well, hey, look, next fight up is two guys that we've seen fight before. We get Santiago Ponzinibbio, from Argentina, against Zach Cummings, who looks like a homeless man that they just allowed to fight for some fucking reason. And I'm not a fan of Cummings at all, but regardless, I am a fan of Ponzinibbio. Dude shows up to fight. Last two, he's got 2 wins in a row by TKO, Court McGee and Andreas Stahl. He did get TKO by Lawrence Larkin. I think he got caught in that fight pretty good. But he's got pretty good UFC experience. Guys, of that caliber. 13 TKO or knockouts in his record, 6 submissions. Has a ground game. We don't see it a lot, but I believe I'm thinking it's serviceable enough to survive against a guy like Zach Cummings, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a wrestler and a submission guy. So he's coming off he's actually riding a 2-fight win streak as well. Dominic Steele by TKO and Nicholas Dalby by decision. So it's one of those weird fights. Again, not a fan of Cummings. I like Ponzinibbio a lot. I'm gonna pick Ponzinibbio in this one by TKO, which is kind of weird because Cummings does have a reputation of being sort of a zombie. So it's gonna be a tough fight for the Argentinian. Jesse, who are you picking?
Man, it's a tough fight to pick because both of these guys' style kind of clashes. I think it's one of those atypical, striker versus wrestler kind of. Zach Cummings is that hard-nosed wrestler that just kind of moves forward. I think the last time we talked about him, my biggest complaint was that he's fallen in love too much with his hands. So he's kind of turned into that wrestler falling in love with his striker, kind of getting away from what got him to the dance. And as you mentioned, he's got a pretty good ground game, but I think the problem is that he doesn't implement it as well as he used to when he was coming up in the rankings. I think he went through the Tough House, I believe, correct?
Yeah, I think
he was one of the Ultimate Fighter guys. So in that season, I think nobody was a real standout except for for him and his ability to really just kind of move forward and kind of absorb the damage and give some damage out. But I'm pretty high on Ponzinibbio. What I've seen from him is pretty exciting, and I think he's going to be able to. I think this is going to be a true test to him rounding out his game. If I remember correctly, one of Ponzinibbio's opponents actually was able to take him down and kind of neutralize a little bit what he was doing. I really don't remember which fight it was, but I believe it was either the last one or the one before. But it's one of those things where you know that eventually they're going to end up putting him against somebody that's going to test his ground game. And I think this is a test that he needs to kind of move forward in the rankings. And I think this is the perfect test for him to really prove that he's rounding out his game. So I agree with you, Eddie. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting, hopefully a TKO finish, but I think we might end up seeing a little bit more of a grind out of this fight. Still, I think Ponzinibbio is going to take this fight.
All right, so we got 2 picks for Ponzinibbio. Dave, who are you taking?
Yeah, there's a heavy favorite, or he's the heavy favorite in this fight. That's pretty much 75-25. Ponzinibbio, he's ranked number 37. Zach Cummings number 46. I know Zach Cummings' preparation for this bout. I mean, I think he was training with T. Wood himself. Both of these guys were working for Tyron's title fight, and then now this bout. But yes, he's right though. It's sort of a Ponzinibbio bout where he's got he's going to be tested against a guy like Zach Cummings, where he's going to be relentless and trying to get the fight to the ground. I think Zach Cummings is riding a 2-fight win streak, so he's going to be really ready to he wants to get that 3rd win, get that 3-fight streak, and keep on moving. But Ponzinibbio is coming off the the KO finish of Court McGee, which he was previously unfinishable and zombie status, him as well, kind of like you said. Zach Cummings is sort of that guy, in which I think this fight could be a grind out 3-round war, which Cummings just keeps on coming at it, and Ponzinibbio will be victorious in this bout. I think Cummings puts up a big fight. He's got KO power. I think both these guys could probably KO each other, but I think it's going to be one of those grind fests. I'm going to have to go Ponzinibbio slightly, not by much. I think it's going to be a very close fight. They have minus 185 Ponzinibbio, the favorite, plus 160 Zach Cummings, slight underdog.
Yeah, and Cummings is usually the underdog at this one. He's pulled off some impressive wins. I got to be honest about that. But other than that, I'm not a big fan of watching him really.
And they're both 4-1 in their last 5. So going forward, Zach Cummings for that 3rd win, and then Ponzinibbio is coming fresh off a nice TKO. So I think that's all the makings for a great bout here, competitive fight.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. Moving on to the next fight here. Number 12, 185, we got the middleweights. Number 12, Talis Leites against Chris Camozzi, who to me is one of the weirdest stories in MMA, because it seems like they just throw this guy at whoever wants to or needs a fight. Like when he fought Jacare and got submitted by armbar, I thought that was like the beginning of the end for Camozzi. That was like his first fight in the UFC, and I was just like, no, don't kill this guy yet. But truth be told, 3 wins in a row. Tom Watson by decision. Joe Briggs by TKO. Who doesn't beat Joe Briggs these days? Hell, he beats himself. Fuck. And then win over Vito Miranda by decision. He's not doing it by super impressive fashion, but a win's a win. In the UFC, you need W's to stay in the game, just to stay in the game. So 29 years old out of Colorado, 7 TKOs and KOs, 7 submissions, 10 decisions. He's just one of those guys that's just a fighter. You know what I mean? He doesn't really have like a big niche that you could like put him in as he's a wrestler, he's a striker. He kind of does what he needs to do to win while being the underdog basically in every fight he's had so far. Taking on Talis Leites, 34 years old, with a team of Nobody Now, of course, Nobody Now with Barao, Gudelia, fucking Aldo, all those killers over there. But he has 2 losses in a row against pretty decent-sized names, though. They're not horrible losses. Michael Bisping by split decision, which is weird, and the Gegard Mousasi decision loss in February of this year. Before that, he was on a tear, beat Tim Bosch, Francis Carmont, Trevor Smith, Ed Herman, Tom Watson. So he's a name. Right before these last 2 fights that he lost, everyone was like, oh, shit, Talis Leites is a bad motherfucker. Now you're just like, Talis Leites might be overrated or on his way out. So it's a weird fight for him. It's a must-win for him. Pretty damn clear. And I think, my opinion, I think he's gonna fucking go balls out and be like, look, if I'm gonna be off the roster or this is my last fight in the UFC, I'm just gonna go balls out, win or lose, right? You kind of just have to go out, go all out and show us something. And I know, Jesse, you say that a lot. Sometimes guys have to show you something that they want to stick around. Ellenberger just did it this last weekend. Beck for a chance, pulled it off. I'm picking Talis Leites to do it as well. Do you think Talis Leites does it?
It's a tough fight because, as you stated, Camozzi is one of those guys that's so weird. You just kind of never know what you're going to get out of him. I mean, You know, his two losses that I can remember for sure are against Jacare, both times. And I think one was faster than the other. I think the second time was faster than the first time, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
So, I mean, it almost seems like his losses come from high-level guys. And Talis used to fit that mold. You know, as you said, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. So it kind of seems to me like they're kind of testing Talis with with Kamosi here. Yeah, like they're trying to see where exactly both of them are, and it might make for an interesting fight, and it might make for a very, very like boring fight in my opinion, because as we've seen Talis recently, especially in that Musasi fight, like he just seemed completely outclassed, and then he just seemed like he just didn't want to. Like, he didn't want to engage anymore after it got cracked a couple times, you know? And he started backing away. He wasn't the same Talis that we've seen before. He's just moving forward, trying to be vicious and finish. So, you know, it just depends on how motivated he is. And I've heard some interviews where he says he's pretty motivated, ready to get back in there, you know, trying to go for, you know, for glory, basically, one more time. But I think Kamosi's been on a run, and I think he's hungry to really prove that he belongs in the UFC. And I think we're going to see that out of Kamosi. Kamosi needs this fight, sort of, but not as much as Talis. So I think it's going to be one of those fights where within the first probably 2-3 minutes we'll know exactly what kind of fight we're getting. Whether it's going to be an exciting, you know, quick finish, or it's going to be one of those long, dragged out, you know, decision or split decision wins. But I think Kamosi's going to be able to pull it off either way.
All right, Dave, who you picking, man?
Man, it's a great fight. I mean, Dallas Latest, I always get a kick out of when I just hear Dallas Latest, because I kind of remember closely when Chael Sonnen went on his rant fighting Anderson Silva and just naming off opponents and saying, hey, he fought the great Dallas Latest. And, you know, I'm very familiar with the guy. I mean, he's been around for quite some time. I think one of the first sort of MMA fights that I've seen back in the day was when he fought Martin Kampmann, it's at least 10 years ago. But yeah, it's his 17th UFC fight for Chris Kamosi, believe it or not. He's on a 3-fight streak. Yeah, as long as they don't put this guy against Jacare, he can be pretty impressive in there. I mean, he's got some experience in that octagon. I think they got Latest as a heavy favorite in this bout. They have Dallas Latest ranked number 12 in the world, and they have Kamosi at 23. So I think Kamosi's pretty hungry. Like Jesse said, I agree with that. I think both guys are hungry. I think Kamosi needs the win more than Latest does, but Latest is pretty much on that 2-loss deal where, you know, possibly on the chopping block. But he's been around for some time. Like I referenced a fight with Martin Kampmann 10 years ago. So he's been around the block. He's fought a lot of top competition. He's fought Anderson Silva before. You know, he was on the Tough 4 finale. That's how far along we've come. You know, I mean, Talis Latest has been around for that long. He's 35 years old. This is a fight where Kamosi moving forward. He just got to get the job done. I think, the rankings wise, I think Kamosi wants to continue to climb. And as long as they don't match this guy up with Jacare next, I think he gets the job done here. And I think it's going to be a war. I think that slate is not going to be an easy out. So I think it'll be a decision win or possibly a late possible finish by Kamosi. I think he's been improving his craft, and I think he's made, you know, drastic improvements on his standing game, and I think he's more than capable if it goes to the ground. But I think this fight is going to be most competed on the feet, so I think that favors Kamosi. I think Latest his 2 losses, I really don't want to knock him for those 2 losses because it's against Bisping and against Musasi. But, you know, against Bisping, he fought Michael Bisping pretty tough in that bout, so I can't really knock him for those 2 losses. But I see him coming in here pretty hungry, possibly throwing pucks out the window and getting caught. You know, I think Chris Kamosi is a guy that can probably catch him and finish him off. So I got Chris Kamosi in this fight. The numbers are favoring Latest, so therefore I go Kamosi in this bout.
All right, moving on here to the co-main event of the evening in the featherweight division. 2 guys that are fun as hell to watch. Number 8 ranked Dennis the Menace Bermudez against Ronnie Jason. Of course, Ronnie Jason is out of Brazil, 14-5, I believe. He's mostly a ground guy, right? But he's had first of all, it's weird now. One of you, I don't know what happened in his last fight. The fight against Damon Jackson back in May of last year was overturned. It's a no contest. Did somebody test positive? Was it him?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, so USADA better be on his
Brazilian. Come on.
Oh, that's fucking true. I completely forgot. And if I'm not mistaken, that fight might have been in Brazil too. So I'm not 100% sure, but it might have been. Anyway, all right. Regardless, you know, dude's got technically coming off a loss to Robbie Peralta by split decision. Before that, a win over Steven Siler. He's fought some names. Godofredo Castro back in 2012. I guess Sam Cecilia is a name. Jeremy Stevens knocked him out by a head kick back in November of 2013. So has quite a few fights. To me, it's almost like his hype, or maybe his name, just the fact that he's been in some exciting fights. People think, oh shit, Ronnie Jason's fighting. I'm not super impressed by him. I do like Dennis Bermudez, although he did get knocked the fuck out by Jeremy Stevens not too long ago in an impressive fight. But first of all, Bermudez was winning that fight. I mean, but it was kind of a boring fight to that point, if I remember correctly. And then Jeremy Stevens landed a flying knee to the jaw that put him to death. And I like Bermudez, man, but goddamn, that was sick by Stevens. Anyways, coming off a decision win over Tatsuya Kawajiri at Cerrone vs. Oliveira. Before that, lost at 189 and at 180 against Jeremy Stevens and Ricardo Lamas. And before that, had gone on this tear, man. Wins over Clay Guida, Jim Hedges, Steven Siler, Max Holloway. He beat Max. Now I remember that he beat Max Holloway by split decision back in 2013. And that Velasquez Bigfoot 2 fight where Bigfoot basically got his face smashed to shit. But Max Holloway is a pretty big win, right? At least the name on your record is pretty big. He fights him now, different story, I believe. But regardless, Bermudez, he likes taking you down. He likes to hump you a little bit. He will drop some bombs if you give him a chance. It's a kind of weird fight, but I am going to take Dennis Bermudez in this one over Ronnie Jason if Jason passes drug tests and shit, because you never fucking know. Dave, who you picking?
Yeah, I mean, I got to go Bermudez in this fight, guys. I mean, I followed Dennis the Menace since the Fighter House. He fought, and he would have won the tough finale. He lost to Diego Branda, I believe, in that one. I really followed that season. I think Bermudez is number 9 ranked right now in the world in the 145 division, so that number speaks highly of him. I think he's going to continue to climb. Ronnie Jason, he's been out for a little bit. He hasn't competed in a while. Both these guys do have in common a loss to Jeremy Stevens, in which you referenced that earlier, Eddie, in which Dennis the Menace is known to be a guy to take chances, and he gets clipped and he rushes in, and the guy's more than capable of being a real crafty, a technical guy, in which I think he's going to continue to be a smarter fighter and do just that against Kawajiri. That showed a little bit there. But Dennis got some power on his hands. He's capable of finishing the fight on the ground. He just got to fight smart. I think Ronnie Jason's going to present some problems for him in this fight. You referenced the Max Holloway win. I mean, believe it or not, Dennis the Menace Bermudez is the guy who defeated Max Holloway coming into the UFC. So he's definitely got some upside, more upside than Ronnie Jason. I'm real high on Bermudez in his bout. I think he gets the job done. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting bout here. I think Dennis Bermudez by decision in this one, guys. He's the favorite in the fight. Ronnie Jason is pretty much a big underdog in this bout with the numbers. So.
All right, Jesse, does Jason have a chance in this fight?
Yeah, I think he does. I think I think you guys might be remembering Bermudez's fights a little bit differently than I do. I've seen him fight twice now live, and he's the type of guy that he's almost like a Diego Sanchez, where he tastes his own blood and he's just loses it, throws the game plan out the window, and just starts moving forward, trying to strike. What was it that Jeremy Stevens fight? He was beating up Jeremy Stevens, using his takedowns, using his striking against the cage. He's a pretty diverse fighter, except for the fact that he likes to get in these fist fights. When he's technical, he's great. Nobody's gonna beat that guy when he's technically on. But once he starts, letting loose and starting to be just a brawler, then that's when his chances of winning start dropping dramatically. I really think that this is going to be an upset win for Ronnie Jason. I think Ronnie Jason has the ability to tap him on the chin, has the ability to make it into the fight that Bermudez kind of, I guess you could say, likes to get into, because he welcomes those fights, and I think it's going to be a big problem. I really have high hopes for Bermudez, and it kind of sucks that his winning streak went away the way it did. But I think that he has to get back to being technical, and hopefully this fight he's back to being the technical fighter that he can be, and he can win this fight. But if he starts getting into a fist fight with Ronnie Jason, he's gonna get KO'd. I think he might. I'm picking Ronnie Jason. I think he's gonna stop him probably in the second round.
All right, so we got 1 for Jason, 2 for Bermudez. Look, I think it's going to be an exciting fight regardless, just for the fact that both of these guys, Jason needs win, to stay relevant, to be honest with you. And Bermudez, wants to get back on a run, and hopefully you're right. I hope he gets technical with it, because if he doesn't, Jason, has caught guys before. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting fight regardless. All right, moving on to the main event of the evening, 2 young guys in the featherweight division. Number 13 ranked Yair El Pantera Rodriguez against Bruce Leroy, one of my favorite nicknames in the game, Alex Caceres, with a slick jiu-jitsu game that fits the name for sure. Coming off, he actually has 2 fights, 2-win streak. Caceres does, Bruce Leroy, against Cole Miller, Marcio Follin. Before that, had those 3 fights that were really weird. They're all losses, of course. He got Francisco Rivera finished him by knockout in June of last year. In September 2014, Masanori Kanehara beat him by decision. And before that, of course, the famous fight against Uriah Faber, where Faber beat him by rear naked choke, in a fight that was actually more competitive than anyone really thought. Because I remember when that fight came out, Caceres was considered a massive underdog because Faber was still, the California kid Uriah Faber, not the kind of imposter-ish shell of himself that he is now, to be honest with you. But before that, he is the guy that beat, whatever, dude. He's the guy, Bruce Leroy is the guy that beat Sergio Pettis by rear naked choke when Pettis was kind of on a roll, kind of mirroring his brother a little bit, coming off a little bit of hype. Meanwhile, Yair Rodriguez is the newest. I don't want to say hype because he's proven a little bit so far. Not a lot. He's proved some, though. He has a very exciting, fan-friendly style. He will take risks. He will do some crazy shit, sort of in the way that Anthony Pettis used to do, in the way that Tony Ferguson will still do once in a while. He will take some chances, but he does fight and come out of Jackson Winklejohn, who are known to be great game planners. That's one thing I will give Jackson and Faraz Sahabi, to me, 2 top game planners in the game, bar none. Even if Jackson's is on kind of a shitty streak right now, I think Yair's going to break that. I'm taking Yair Rodriguez to win. He is on a 6-fight win streak. And the UFC's in a 4-fight win streak. But and only one of them was that finish. But dude, that finish of Andre Fili by head kick knockout was goddamn awesome. Okay, sick. So I'm taking the boy from Chihuahua to win this one by finish. I'm thinking a knockout 3rd, 4th round-ish because Bruce Leroy will take some chances as well to get wins. This is an exciting fight no matter how you put it. It's just weird to me that they put it in Utah of all fucking places. So it's kind of weird. I would expect that in like New Mexico and Arizona or in California at worst, maybe Texas, But it's a weird.
They're trying to inject some excitement into those Mormon people over there, man. They're trying to give them something to get excited about, since they can't drink coffee and all that stuff, right?
I don't know. Can they drink beer in the arena? And that's where the Utah Jazz play. I don't know if they can drink beer.
I don't think they can have beer in the arena.
Dude,
is that a rumor?
I don't know. Fuck, I'm gonna have to look that up. Like,
Wikipedia,
it might be a dry state. Some shit like that. Wikipedia.
This is total bro talk right now.
It's
bro, for sure.
It's bro facts. We're throwing out bro facts at this point. Anyway, Jesse, man, who you got in this one? We got the Mexican against the American here. Alex Caceres, of course. Bruce Leroy out of Miami, Florida, and our boy out of Chihuahua, Mexico. Who you picking?
Our boy. Whoa. Where's Fred when you need him?
You disloyal motherfucker. All right. I wish I could sound like fucking like Denzel Washington right now. Like, you disloyal motherfucker. Fucking. If I had a soundbite, I would play that shit right now. Okay, fine. Who you picking?
No, sound bites. Oh God. What are we? A morning zoo over here? Anyway, no. Look, I can ride the hype train with Rodriguez up to a point. I think he needs to be tested. I think he's basically falling into the same trap as Michael Venom Page, where we see him with guys that aren't really. You could almost say they're not really high caliber fighters. They're mid-tier fighters, you could say, and he's looking great against those guys. Well, that's fine, but he's got to get that step up in competition. Bruce Leroy, I could almost say he is, but he still has a lot of holes in his game. And I think the reason, not to be a douche or anything, but I think the reason that this is the main event is because I think they know that it's going to be an exciting fight. I think they know that both of these guys take risks and someone's going to get put to sleep. But I think that the problem is that I think people might be underestimating Bruce Leroy. I think he has a lot of upside. I think he's been improving slowly, and I think he's got a really unorthodox way of approaching fights. You know, he's really long, he's tall for the division, and I think that's going to present some problems for Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez is used to, you know, basically finding the guys that are kind of, you know, a little bit shorter than him, not as much reach, and he's able to, you know, push them off with the push kicks, get them in the kicking range, and, you know, put some exciting kicks, you know, up to their head or whatever, you know. So I think this might be a bigger challenge than a lot of people are thinking. I still think that Rodriguez at the end of the day still has the skills and more abilities currently, but that doesn't mean to say that that Bruce Leroy is not going to be there eventually. I think both of these guys are on a fast track to being, you know, top contenders at one point. It kind of sucks for me that both of these guys are kind of going to be, one's going to be relegated down a little bit farther down the, you know, in the pecking order than he really should be. But I could go with your pick. I'll back the Mexican guy in this one. Just not Cain Velasquez. I'll never back that guy. And I think it's
Go ahead, sorry.
I think it's gonna be a little bit more of a closer fight than people think. I think we're gonna get another decision win out of Rodriguez.
Okay. I mean, look, man, I might be with Kirby. Verdum might have been off the roids when he fought Miocic. So if he's off the roids with Cain, Cain's gonna fuck him up. I'm just messing. I don't even know. I've already made it public a million times. Verdum beat my boy. I can't hate. Dude's just fucking. You know, Verdum's the truth. The submission game is not play. And he fucking prepared like a motherfucker for that fight. But regardless, back to this fight. Dave, one of your boys, who you picking?
Yeah, if you guys think I'm picking Alex Caceres, then you're a little crazy. No, I'm just saying it's an exciting fight, like Jesse said. I think it potentially could be an exciting go the distance. The 5-round fight is the first 5-round fight for both guys. Yeah, Caceres, I mean, he just brings, you know, just something unusual, unorthodox to the game. I think he's what Yair Rodriguez was kind of referencing in a recent interview, is that he's a lefty, so Yair is used to, you know, he's going to have to get used to Caceres in there, and he's real tricky. He does sort of the similar stuff that Yair does, but I think Yair's got more tricks in the bag. I think he's just going to present some problems for Caceres that he's never seen before. Caceres makes himself hittable. He makes a lot of mistakes. I think there's a definite game plan in place to be a Greg Jackson, Mike Valle. I think Yair is just a supremely talented guy. I mean, he's a rising star. I've been super high on this guy, more than a lot of guys currently in the MMA. And in this division, where he ranks now at number 12.
More 20. Than your boy Lando?
Hey, Lando's coming at 155. 45 for now. Rodriguez is going to be the king at 45 eventually. So with him ranked at 20 right now, getting this win over Caceres, I mean, it's a fight for Yair to win. But Caceres is going to show up game as he usually does. I mean, he looked really good against Cole Miller. You guys are saying he's kind of, you know, looking good against these guys who are not really polished. They're veteran guys, but yeah, he did really look pretty impressive against Cole, in which Cole was supposedly supposed to be matched up with BJ Penn that night. So, but Yair is a risk taker. He's an exciting guy. I remember Fred saying that he wouldn't be surprised if it's a 720 spinning tornado kick, and yeah, believe it me, if he's capable of throwing it tomorrow night or Saturday night, yeah, it's gonna be exciting. But I think Yair gets the job done though in under 2 rounds. I think he's just gonna be a little too much for Caceres, and I think he's gonna cash another one of those fight of the night bonuses there and move on from here.
I will say this. I agree with Jesse that the fact that we need to have Yair Rodriguez tested. He needs to be tested against somebody in the top 10, top 15 ranked range that can actually get him some trouble. So, you know, Caceres is going to give him some trouble, but I don't think it's going to be a very difficult fight for Yair to win and to finish. So, but yeah, I'll see him get tested. I don't know. Who would you throw at him, Jesse?
After this fight, I'd probably give him I'd give him a Uriah Faber probably. That'd be the best test of his all-around game, like just, you know, basically his jiu-jitsu defense, his wrestling, the striking. I mean, you know, Uriah Faber would come in with a really good game plan on how to try to neutralize everything, and it'd be interesting to see how he would deal with somebody that, you know, has already dealt with someone with that length and, you know, has that wrestling pedigree. So I think that would be the best step, like basically using Uriah Faber as the last stepping stone into a title fight. Because if he's able to, you know, walk through Bruce Leroy and then walk through someone like Uriah Faber, then I mean, that's pretty much it. That's the truth right there, and you got to give him a title shot.
I love it. Let's put you right here where he belongs, at gatekeeper status for life, motherfucker. All right. Jody's picking Yair Rodriguez as well, and she says she loves Kane. So fuck you, Verdun. Anyway, yeah.
God,
all right.
Geez, so hostile.
Man, dude, I'm hyped up. I got done with a workout and I feel pretty good. So I'm like hyped and going off on everything.
MMA hat.
Your RDA hat, that's right. Well, you have an RDA and a Kings MMA hat? I got two.
Yeah.
This guy.
And a shirt, so I got to put that on.
He's been bought. We can't trust him anymore. All right. And again, just naming off reading off the times here. This is on Saturday, August 6th. This Saturday. Early Fight Pass prelims, 7 p.m. Pacific Eastern. 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. FS1 prelims, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. So let's hope there's no fucking NASCAR or baseball go on and fuck it all up. And of course, FS1 main card, 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time, all on FS1. It's gonna be a hell of a show here. Let's go real quick over a couple of new headlines. We already knew this was going to happen. Bisping vs. Henderson 2 is, but Bisping vs. Hendo 2 is agreed now, reported by Mr. Crabbaby for 2 hours on the internet. Has been agreed for UFC 204. Dave, if you had to pick that fight right now, we're still a bit away from 204. But if you had to pick that fight between Hendo and Bisping, who do you think wins it?
Man, that's well, I tweeted out earlier, I will not believe that fight's taking place till I see him walking into the cage. But
exactly.
To play prediction, to predict the fight right now, I think Bisping, I mean, it's just so far out, it's kind of hard to gauge where both guys are at. I think Hendo's going to go in there and look for the kill. That's what he's going to do. I think Bisping's he's going to present a lot of problems. Different. It's going to be a different fight. I mean, every fight's different. I think Bisping is the pre-fight, the lead up to that bout. Believe you me, that's going to be exciting shit if everything goes as planned. So that's going to be great. Bisping's going to be talking a ton of shit. He's the king. He's in his backyard. I'm favoring Bisping, but I'm doubting that fight takes place. I have a feeling there's going to be somebody that's going to step in since it's so far out. There's so much controversy over the Luke Rockhold, the Weidman situation. So the timing is everything. So I think they really got to factor in possibly a backup plan. So I think they added the Vitor Belfort fight on there with Gegard. So yep. I kind of referenced that on another show we talked about. And I said that's sort of a backup plan. So I think that's something they got to put in place with so many fights falling out and just all this weird shit that's been going on since UFC 202 or 200. I'm sorry. But go with Bisping in that one in his backyard. Absolutely, I got to go with the man, the count. I followed his entire career. I'm happy for the guy. Super happy for him.
Yeah, and I don't think he's lost in England at all. I don't think he's ever lost a fight at home. So he's got a good hands. But it's Hendo, man. Jesse, who are you gonna pick in that fight? Well, if you had to pick right now.
Oh, come on, you already know. I picked Bisping to beat Luke Rockhold, a guy that I was really, really high on. I mean, I picked Luke Rockhold to destroy. The last champion, what's his name? Nobody cares his name anyway. He's never been champion.
You're going to get some heat for that one.
No, I'm sorry. Chris Weidman.
Yeah.
Chris Weidman, great guy, but just didn't really beat the best of the best. And then when he came up against Luke Rockhold, who, I pretty much consider the best right now in that division. He just went up against a brick wall. I don't care if a lot of people will say that he threw that spinning kick and it was bad, but we all know where it was heading after that, but I just think Bisping. I think Bisping, after all these, he probably sits at home, knowing Bisping. He probably sits at home and has that knockout, that whole fight on loop, and he probably watches that fight every night, and it just burns him, and it pisses him off, and he gets fired up, and he just probably cusses his kid out or something, in the mornings, after he wakes up, just watching that fight. I think he knows exactly what he needs to do to avoid what Dan Henderson brings to the table. And, we've seen Dan Henderson. He just does the same thing as he's always done. He hasn't changed anything. He hasn't switched anything up. So as long as he avoids that big power shot, I think it's Bisping's night to really shine. I don't think Dan Henderson has changed too much up to be able to say that he's going to be able to beat this incarnation of Bisping.
Dave?
And if you guys want to, this card, I mean, it's a little ways out. We're talking about it. I mean, if you want a what the fuck moment that's going to come in the future, what if Dan Henderson goes in there and fucking starches Bisping and retires? I mean, then what the fuck does everybody do at that point? Which he said he's cool with retiring in a win or a loss.
Yeah.
So.
Look, it's great because then you can put whatever fight you want for the title. Anybody. You don't have to be Bisping either. You can put the two guys you just want to throw in there to fucking fight for the title. You're good. You don't have to worry about a Woodley going, oh, I want big money fights. I'm not going to fight just anybody. You don't have to worry about a McGregor going, I'm going to fight at 170 instead. You don't have to worry about a Demetrius Johnson who just starches everybody. It's literally a reset for that 185. Literally a reset for 185, which would be fucking amazing with all the guys that are in there.
Oh yeah, just remember we did this show, guys, because we're talking about it now, and man, I mean, what kind of story would that be with Dan Henderson going out like that, and he's already open to saying I'm cool with walking away. So say he raises gold over there in England in that moment. I mean, man, that's a hell of a fucking story if it does take place that way. But we're talking about it now. It's a little ways out. I hope the fight does happen, but we still got a ways to go, guys.
Yeah, and Jody on. Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Jody on YouTube saying they should make it a 3-round fight due to the geriatric status of Hendo.
Ouch.
Damn. God damn. Jody bringing the fire. What are you going to say?
No, something we forgot to talk about on the advocates, the new rule changes.
Oh, yes.
Is there anything there that stuck out to you guys? I have my pick, but was there anything in all those rule changes that stuck out to you the most?
The grounded fighter thing. Now it has to be like a full hand. It can't just be a finger, right? Or it has to be like 2 hands and a foot. Wait, can you explain it? Because I didn't understand what the hell changed. All I know is that you can't just have a hand down or a finger down anymore.
Yeah, it has to be basically the palm has to be on the ground or a fist. So you can't have like just the fingertips. You can't have, you can't just play the game. Basically, that's what John McCarthy was trying to stop, which is like playing the game. Which, if you listen to Boss Rutan, he says at that point when they start doing that, you just lift them up and then knee them in the face because then you're going to lift them off from their little fingers touching the mat. But again, it's just a way to stop them from playing the stupid game of oh, my hand's down, oh you can't knee me, oh it's such a stupid way to stall the action and catch a breath or whatever.
Yeah, so that'd be my pick right there because it's about goddamn time we do something about that because that shit's getting annoying as hell. What are you, Dave? What's your pick on those?
Yeah, I think that's good though. I think like I referenced it a little bit. We were talking about the Vitor Belfort kick that he threw at John Jones when they fought. So basically, if he landed that kick, that would have been a legal kick. So I think it's sort of a problem where it's not a problem that they're trying to fix it. That's kind of like what Chael Sonnen was saying in an interview. It's something where they're thinking guys are gaming this or gaming the system, and it's just not that way. I mean, you hear about it from a fighter or you hear about it from a guy like Chael Sonnen, and it makes you wonder. And it's like, hey, think about it. It really is not a big problem. But the eye pokes thing, I think we'll see a little bit of different. It'll affect the fights. It'll affect certain specific styles, certain fighters, and everybody will be looking for it. I just think that the judging too will be another thing where there'll be a good eye on the significant strikes and I think a lot of the judges lately in the last couple cards have been spot on. It's been a lot of 10-8 rounds and identifying pretty much what a 10-8 round looks like. So I think the judges have already taken notice about that and made the necessary changes. So going forward, it's going to be more consistent. So yeah, that's another thing that stood out was just the judging as well and kind of just the criteria behind that. So
yeah, the criteria thing I like because they took out the word damage. So now it's not going to be in reference to just who's getting damaged more because we've seen people that get damaged real easily, but then they still they still have better striking. They're still being more active. There's still other things, and I think the way that they're they wrote out the rules is it's best. But yeah, the thing that stood out to me the most definitely was the eye pokes thing. I mean, now you can't have your hand extended anymore. You can't even have it extended because I think initially they thought they were going to change the rule to where you can't move forward and extend your hands, but if you're moving back, you could. But they completely took that out. Now you can't have your fingers facing in your opponent's direction at all. It has to be either a fist. Yeah, it has to be a fist or the fingers up, which no fighter is going to have his fingers up. So
no one's going to go.
Yeah, unless you're having Nick Diaz bitch slap coming at you, that's pretty much the only time I think that would ever happen.
I've been arguing that for years. Bring back the Boz Rutan palm strikes, dude. That shit fucking works.
Yeah, Boss is a fucking ultimate. If you've never seen that before, look it up.
Yeah.
I think Boss is the only one that can pull that off, though.
Yeah, you know, his hands are ridiculous back
out.
in the day. He could like extend his hand way crazier like that. Like his fingers would be way back here, and his palm would always like be like extra limb. It was always so crazy to see him throw it.
You know, it was like no, go ahead.
So he got KO tattooed, I think, on his hands, like in the process of him fighting for the back in the day the pancrase. I think he got KO in Japanese symbols on his hands. So Boss is a fucking man. Boss is one of my top favorite guys in MMA history. So yeah, if you watch those pancrase fights or the old school style with Boss, I mean, ruthless. You know what I mean? If they brought that back, I mean, they said he was gaming the system then, or he kind of gamed it then, but there's a lot of other shit going on too at that period of time. So
definitely, we have a little bit of a clarification on the hands, on the fucking, you know, not being able to get kneed in the face or whatever with a hand down. Apparently, according to Minion, it says it has to be both hands or fists have to be down.
Yeah.
Which to me makes a lot more sense. I like that better because now you know. You get one hand down, that's not gonna help anymore. Like you better get ready to eat some knees.
And again, it has to be a complete palm or the whole fist. So it
has to be both, yeah.
You can't just have you know all fingers on the ground. It has to be the whole palm basically, or your fist. So I think it's gonna be a good tactic that we're gonna see go away finally. That whole gaming the system in that position.
Definitely. And Jody says, little confused because Chael also said ABC has no power to enforce these new rules and regulations or suggestions. Do you guys know what this means? Do they have, they have power, right?
Kind of. Basically, this is like modifying the rules, and it doesn't mean because they could also add. I think they were also planning on adding a weight class. I think they're still going to vote on that eventually. That just means that the UFC doesn't really have to follow all the rules. They have to follow some of the rules, but I think, for the most part, most of these are going to be implemented anyway, like the eye pokes. Mm-hmm. I mean, pretty much, I think the only thing they don't have to really implement is the weight divisions. I think the weight division is something that they don't have to really follow, but pretty much everything else, I mean, it's for the benefit of the sport. It's not like it's going to radically change everything. So, there's no reason why the UFC would not adopt these new rules. But yeah, these are basically like suggestions on how to modify the rules and make it better. But for the most part, it seems like everybody's going to follow the rules.
Yeah. And Mike Jarvis says, this is a stupid, we're talking about Bisping Hendo. This is a stupid rematch. If Bisping wins, it doesn't mean shit. And I kind of agree with that. I think it means more if Hendo wins, but Bisping just wants that win back, or that he wants that loss back, or whatever, win back from when he got knocked out. Meanwhile, I didn't get my pick. I am picking Shuffle H-Bomb and Mike Drop on his way home. Bucket. Okay? So Hendo's going to knock his ass out and reset that whole division, which would be awesome. Anyway. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we go? All right. Guess that's going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us tonight. This was your UFC Salt Lake City Pre-Fight Show. You can follow Jesse at Spawat1983. Follow Dave. You can see it over under his name there, at Dave's MMA Brief. And I'm at Elaw31. Again, appreciate you guys watching. Shout out to Jody, Mike Jars, Minion, Andrew Reed, everybody else that watches the shows. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy the fights on Saturday, actually. Enjoy the fights.
Peace out.